Hey everybody, it looks like Tears of the Kingdom is here early. It's not supposed to be here until May 12th. It is currently May 5th, 4th, for recording this. And I got a lot to say. I think this is very important. There's a lot of things that Nintendo could do here to gain a lot of fans, to get a lot of people to rally behind them, support their decisions. And there's a lot of things here that could have people canceling their pre-order. So Tears of the Kingdom, I didn't believe it at first. I don't want to show anything to anyone, but I will say I have the game pre-ordered. I own a Switch OLED. I play a Switch OLED. It sits in my living room most of the time, but sometimes I go to bed and I bring it with me, right? My first experience with Breath of the Wild was actually on a Wii U, later on the Switch. But since then, I've actually started to use RioJinx, and I just wanted to put it on my computer. I have a lot of reliable sources to get me that, so I got it, and I made sure I had the prod keys, the title keys. I did everything I could to make sure it was legit, and it sure in hell was. Now, I have a pretty damn good computer, and to say that this game runs like ass is, well, selling it short, but obviously this is not representative of the final product. Breath of the Wild didn't run great pretty early on, but it later did run a lot better, and I'm happy to say that I have enjoyed my time with Tears of the Kingdom thus far, and I'm excited to receive it for my Switch so I can play it in what it is perceived as its crowning platform, the Nintendo Switch. Uh, but at this point, with my experience with Tears of the Kingdom, I have to say, Nintendo has some options here. They can either respond positively and try to throw a really good swing on this. We know for a fact that Nintendo has worked with Nvidia in the past, especially in China, and we also know that Nintendo owns several other subsidiaries to re-release under a different name, such as the IQ line, also in China. This means that it is very possible for Nintendo of America to do a subsidiary line and then just shell out to have games put on PC. Obviously, this has to be coordinated with things like publishers and would take a lot of work. But we see companies like PlayStation getting involved in this sector and getting games over to PC. Now, it's not PC's grand library, and it seems like for the most part they are trying to do a good job, unlike EA with Star Wars IP. But it does look like Nintendo could do something here to further invest into a larger gaming space. It seems like Nintendo has a place on PC. They're definitely wanted here, and a lot of people want their games archived properly so they can be played in the future. Things like Breath of the Wild will one day be considered a retro game, even within our lifetimes, which means our children's might not know what The Legend of Zelda is, and you won't have games to show them unless the hardware survives, which it most likely won't, as well as third party stuff also needing to survive. We don't really often talk about the plasticity and destruction of the video game PC console marketplace, but video games disappear quite regularly. They just up and go away. This is a pretty big argument for what is essentially somebody stealing the code of a video game and releasing it publicly. Now, Nintendo could always jump out and be like, man, fuck you, take everybody down, cease and desist everything, take down the YouTube videos, but it doesn't really seem like that would be the greatest place to start. Accepting the fact that they fucked up and had the game leaked is definitely, in my opinion, the greatest place for them to start, and then maybe begin communicating with other corporations such as AMD, Nvidia, etc. Nvidia being a particular of note, as it would be a good choice for them to work with, to move their hardware into a different direction. Things like Steam Decks are just getting more and more powerful as we see things like the Asus ROG Ally becoming more and more prevalent in the gaming space as an alternative for your desktop situation. This means Nintendo has a clear opportunity for there to be a somewhat Linux based Nintendo store made that hosts some of the Nintendo games to capitalize on what is essentially a total loss at the moment. You see, in many cases, just having a game always available for sale means somebody is more than likely to purchase it. I am one of those people. Seeing that Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, the Pixel Collection, say what you will about the Pixel Collection, is available, meaning I can spend my hard earned money in order to own that product, is very important. And it is a source of archival and respect to Square for at least taking the time to care enough to continue to hold a product available. And I'm sure, things like the laws and how long you can own or physical rights to a media is going to play into that. Zelda is a very long franchise. Mario is a very long franchise. Sonic is a very long franchise. It's only a matter of time before, something gets shelved. It becomes a long period of time for it to be shelved, and then it falls into public domain. We don't want to see that. Many people would say that at least we have the archive. At least we're going to have a good version of Tears of the Kingdom on emulator if Nintendo doesn't react positively and decide to swing this into a narrative to not only be more consumer friendly, but also provide their games to an audience that is asking for them. Not a lot of people have that kind of money to just shell out on a Switch, and they would rather update their main computer because they might work from home, game from home, watch TV from that computer. There's a huge rising popularity in small homes. There's a massive popularity in portable devices. So having a small form factor PC in your apartment is becoming more and more realistic. Less and less people are choosing to buy into consoles, as I see on a regular basis, even in basic communication, and I'm in a rural town. I can only imagine what the suburbs and the cities look like when it comes to the explosion of PC gaming. Now, I would have to say partially this is more than likely due to the power of emulation, the ease of access that emulation has, and the very accessible archives of video games. But much like myself, a majority of people that I know that choose to play on RioJinx are still going to their local store and purchasing these games for their collection and putting them on a shelf, or buying digital license, or just buying some form of currency from that creator in order for them to have some form of money back, which means a lot of people are probably willing to continue to pay for these games. Much like with the PS5 incident, a lot of people still want access to PS2, PS1, and PS3 libraries, which is pushing people to put emulators on these consoles. Look at the Xbox Series X, Series S. The same thing happened. People put emulators on it so that way they can experience games from the past. I have people in my own Discord for a small content creator who are still playing retro games to this day, who are still loading up games like Halo 2 in the original release and Halo CE in the original release and playing them quite regularly. And then I also see them playing very modern titles such as Cyberpunk, Doom Eternal, etc., in order to satiate a whole plethora of gaming needs. Now, Nintendo could just go ahead and say, you know what, we're going to port our games over, put our own personal launcher on PC, and you know what, because we're doing this out of spite, despite us, the people who are playing Tears of the Kingdom early, they're going to be $90. Now, of course, this is going to create a lot of upset in the community, but realistically, Nintendo could set that price, and realistically, it could stick. Same thing with PlayStation. If PlayStation were to ever do something more with PlayStation Now and release a, I don't know, standalone game launcher, yes, of course, we don't want a billion of those, especially when you have things like Epic existing, doing a lot to mediate that, as well as Steam trying to mediate that as well. And you have others like Cassette, etc., etc. I think VK has one now too. But irrelevant, seeing that the NVIDIA uh, Shield was playing Switch games back in the day. It was playing, I believe, GameCube games as well back in the day. There was quite a big library over in China, considering their regulations and their rules. I think it ended up being 4 or 5 games. I think Odyssey, uh, Mario Kart, and a few other things. I don't even know if Zelda went over there, but yeah, this is just one of those situations where, as somebody who runs a business, as somebody who's ran several businesses and continues to, continue to work with businesses on a much, much, much smaller scale, mind you, it just seems like the smartest move would to finally turn to the community and say, you know what, you're right, Wii U sucked. The Switch is definitely not everybody's preferred way of playing a game. we can't tailor our games to literally everyone. We're getting more and more issues with the Pokemon Company. It might be time to release something like a 3D Pokemon MMO on PC. It might be time to have Zelda on PC and also on other consoles. It just makes the most sense right now for a narrative to compete with something like the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally, and other home console like video game PCs becoming more and more and more readily available. And as phones move forward, and Nintendo definitely having a mobile presence on phones, having some form of mobile releases for these in the future would be something that I could see them doing and would probably be very smart. We have seen that with Grand Theft Auto and Rockstar, and their mobile ports may not be the best, but it's the fact of the matter that my phone, the thing that's always with me in my pocket, I can at any point spend, I think it's $5 to play Max Payne, uh, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas on my phone. And as awkward as it is, I've shown off devices in the past, things that will pop up on this channel in the future as I'm working on them. Devices that pretty much make your phone into a Switch, anyways. And I did start a proof of concept video. This is the OnePlus Nord 7T Pro McLaren. It's got the 16 gigabytes of RAM. It's got the graphics chip. It's got the processor. I had a video in the production that was me putting a switch on this, and I was successful. I worked with the Skyline community to have it made and running, and awesome community, by the way, if that's something that you're interested in. And I did play Metroid Dread on my phone, meaning that there is a huge opportunity here for Nintendo to step up and be one of the biggest video game mobile space creators ever and completely turn around a landscape if they so tried. But that's going to do it for me. If you like this video, please go check out my other channel, my main channel, Zephyrian. It's a Let's Play channel where I edit things and play games and communicate. I like Let's Plays. I watch pretty much exclusively Let's Plays and Simon Whistler these days. It is what it is. Hey, subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Bye.